president, by tweeting recently about immigration, and he's been tweeting a lot, is setting the agenda and trying to spur on Congress as a presidential tweet storm, you might call it. We must have border security, get rid of chain migration, the lottery, catch and release, sanctuary cities, go to merit-based immigration, protect ICE and law enforcement, and, of course, keep building but much faster the wall. That's the president's latest tweet. He's setting the agenda, but the question is the United States Congress listening? Because we've been now debating immigration, we've been debating DACA and the separating the families and all this, and wringing hands now for many, many months, going on a year, and the Congress has yet to close these massive loopholes.
Yeah, if you go all the way back to President Trump's inauguration, I mean, the administration has done a lot administratively, again, to have the rule of law be restored in immigration policy, and they've done a lot. But again, in the one area where they've been stymied at every step of the way is to try to pass either meaningful legislation to reform our immigration laws or fund what was his signature campaign promise, which is the border wall. Let's go back to March and the last spending bill that was passed. You know, Congress, he had a huge request for border wall funding. They gave him a paltry $1.6 billion with strings attached to it. They said of that $1.6 billion, none of the money could go to construct any of his new border wall prototypes, and none of the money could go to new border wall fencing. It had to go to repairs and things like that. So the president has been repeatedly rolled in these spending negotiations, and I think it's due to two things. I think first, this administration has shown that they struggle when negotiating with Congress. They kind of send mixed signals and don't say what they want. And number two, which I think is the most important factor here, is you have a congressional leadership that truly isn't aboard with his agenda when it comes to immigration.
Yeah, I believe that the president and his administration has been a lot clearer than I think you're giving them credit for. But I think you're dead on target with the United States Congress, and I think it's purely politically motivated. When you look at the diversity visa lottery system, for example, and chain migration was the result of a 1965 law, the Hart-Celler law. These are issues that need to be rectified because the American people are not having a say. Both of those programs are emblematic of the American people vis-a-vis the government not having a direct say of who comes into our house. And then you throw in there the catch and release. This is insanity. This is immigration insanity to hear these immigration agents say, oh, we have to let them loose when we know the majority of them never show up for their court dates. This needs to stop, and the only way it can be stopped officially is the United States Congress.
No, absolutely. I think Congress, you know, they have their priorities all out of whack. We saw it with the DACA negotiations earlier this year. People in Congress need to know, and I think President Trump understands this, and this is why he got elected. The key stakeholders in U.S. immigration policy are the American people, and you wouldn't know that by watching that hearing or watching anybody in Congress. You just brought up two key reforms that are common sense, getting rid of the diversity visa lottery and moving away from our system of extended family chain migration to a more merit-based system. But in order to even try to get past first base on either of those issues, President Trump had to flirt with a massive amnesty. Why should the American people be expected to swallow a massive amnesty, codify law breaking at every step of the way in order to get reforms that they have long been promised? We went down this path in the 1980s. The American people did a big amnesty in exchange for what they thought would be future enforcement. The enforcement mechanisms were never put in place.
Right.
President Trump needs to refocus the debate, and if the debate isn't refocused on Capitol Hill, then the voters out there need to do it.
And the president is now acting with a sense of urgency, and there's a reason why. Because if you read the headlines, illegal immigrants are not stopping. They're coming because they feel what's going on in Washington, D.C. They see the conflict. 1,000 a day crossing the border illegal. 1,000 a day right now. So what is happening let me finish my point real quick. What is happening is these would-be illegals are paying attention to what's going on in Washington, D.C. They see a window now that may be closing, so they're coming over the border, at least attempting to, more than ever now.
Absolutely. These are rational actors down there. You know, we saw this back in the Obama administration when President Obama had to dispatch Joe Biden down to Central America to tell them, hey, just because we're doing this DACA thing does not mean you will get to stay here. We're seeing that now. You know, again, we saw all the border numbers drop when President Trump first got elected to office. I think, you know, you saw the fear from people down below the border, a lot of these coyotes that help smuggle people up. And people down in Central America, they thought the wall would come. They thought we'd tighten up our asylum laws.
Yeah.
But right now, we haven't done any of that. And these rational actors down there are paying attention, and we're seeing it by a flood down on the border.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.